going to set you up for the Sweet 16 this weekend. And Elite 8 matchup should be a lot of fun. Major League Baseball starting up this week. Teddy, a lot to go over, but let's get right into it. Hot topics of the day. All 4 seeds advance to the Sweet 16. First time, Teddy, all number 1 seeds in the Final Four. Hasn't happened since 2008. TV executives, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, got to be liking this scenario, Teddy.
Sure. And I mean, it was funny because Thursday and Friday, there was a fair bit of insanity. Saturday and Sunday, there was a little bit of point spread mayhem, but boy, it was an awfully chalky Sweet 16. And you look at that when you see the seeds. What do we have? 1 5 seed and 1 12 seed. And that was it. Now, some of the dogs were able to cash over the weekend. Certainly, boy, I got lucky. I had a ticket on Baylor. They were a wrong side, and they came in, Gonzaga wire to wire, but they didn't cover the minus 14. The Zags, of course, taking on Florida State in the Sweet 16. But the game everybody's talking about today is obviously Duke UCF, with a wild finish with the Blue Devils somehow finding a way to survive. RJ Barrett off the missed free throw, no sweat. All that being said, UCF backers with a wire-to-wire job against the Blue Devils yesterday.
No, it was really interesting to watch. It was a fun game, Teddy. And the good part about a fun game is yourself, when you're sitting on the plus 13.5 ticket, you get the enjoyment of the real-time, energy of the game. And the only thing I'm thinking at the end of the game is, I know it's 13.5. Just don't send it to overtime. Zion goes to the rim, gets the M1, misses, and the putback. Because we all get nervous over that stuff. Like, oh, my goodness. Same thing if you're sitting on the total, if you're an over-under backer. We see it quite a bit. But, Teddy, I remember on Friday, right here on that betting show, us going over saying, you know what? First couple rounds or first day or so, that you're looking at all the underdogs that are carrying the day. And we're saying, you know what? Take it as each individual game. If you always bet underdogs, you like underdog angles, don't just level the max the next day, because that's what's happening in a tournament. We did see the evening out and the bite back of the favorites, though.
Of course, what happens yesterday does not necessarily affect anything that's going to happen today in college basketball. And with the dogs biting over the first 2 days of the tournament, it's not unusual. We've seen, in fact, in the past, we've seen 15 out of the 16 higher-seeded teams advance over that first weekend in the round of 32. This, however, was the first time that all 15 of the, was it all 16 higher-seeded teams advanced? No, Auburn won yesterday, but they were the betting favorites in that ballgame. All 16 betting favorites survived in advance over the course of the 2 days that we just saw. Insanity ATS-wise, but from a straight-up standpoint, nothing but chalk in this tournament, with the exception of the Oregon Ducks.
How about the much maligned Big Ten, Teddy, opening up 10-5 against the spread, and not a ton of really big upsets that we usually see. We almost caught one yesterday with Duke going right down to the wire with UCF, but Purdue, Iowa, Michigan State go a perfect 6-0 in the tournament so far. And the dreaded, talk about this one, Teddy, each and every year, the pundits, you see it on ESPN, CBS, wherever you're watching, people just filling out their brackets saying, make sure you pay attention to these 12-5s. There's going to be an upset somewhere. The 12s came to play, Teddy.
Yeah, they sure did. The 12-5s came 2 New Mexico State free throws away from winning all 4 of the 12-5 matches. Instead, they went 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread. Obviously, the end of the Auburn-New Mexico State game was about as ugly as it gets, with both teams like, we don't want to win, you guys win. No, we don't want to win, you guys win. But New Mexico State did that last, losing by the single point after the kid missed free throws, got 3 free throws and a chance to win it at the end. They came up just a point short, but obviously covered against the spread. When you talk about the Big Ten, Purdue looking pretty good. Not one of the hype Big Ten teams. Iowa looking really good. Not one of the hype Big Ten teams. Felt like everyone was on Cincinnati, and then everyone was on Tennessee. And obviously the Hawkeyes gave them quite a battle after rallying from behind on Sunday. It was Michigan that went 2-0 ATS. The Spartans went 1-1 against the number. But of those 2 teams, obviously Michigan State had the regular season success. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Spartans be the Final Four team out of the Big Ten as opposed to the Wolverines.
We'll break these games down a little bit later in the week, but it's always fun, Teddy, to get that fresh new look here right on Monday. And we'll take a look at the Sweet 16. Network certainly happy with what's coming forward or might be on the future as we take a look heading down the stretch into the Final Four in the final game. But a track meet set up for Friday at the Sprint Center with Carolina and Auburn. A total opened up around 160, Teddy. Already seeing that on the move. Duke's going to meet up with ACC foe Virginia Tech. If we remember recently, Virginia Tech did pull the upset. And let's not forget also, proximity where Virginia Tech is, Washington, D.C. Should be a good home crowd there for the Hokies. And Oregon bringing a ton of momentum into the match against UVA. 2 teams that play stellar defense, defense. That one already lined in the teens. Teddy, what? 118, 117 we're looking at. Should be a lot of fun this weekend. A couple matches that should go up-tempo and some that should slow it down.
Yeah, exactly. When you've got one game line now, what are we looking at? 163.5 for Auburn, North Carolina. Another game we're looking at right now that's lined legitimately 117.5 with Oregon, Virginia. You know you're going to have different paces when it comes to the Sweet 16. But when all the chalk comes through, yeah, for college basketball fans, we miss the, we don't get an Anteaters to root for this weekend. Or even Murray State and Wofford, two teams that look great in the first round and then ending up with nightmares in round two. All that being said, for the casual fan, look, we know sports bettors are going to watch all this stuff. Doesn't matter who's playing. We know college basketball fans are going to watch all this stuff. Doesn't matter who's playing. But when it comes to the casual viewer, you talked about it, Donnie. The fact that all the blue bloods survive in advance, this is good news for the networks. They're going to have huge ratings for the Sweet 16, and networks never upset when that happens.
Nope, certainly get the Kentuckys in there, get the Dukes in there, get the Carolinas in there. You have that casual fan. You're right, the Final Four party. We get the chips, the dips, and the pizza and the wings out there. The women who say, hey, you know what? Oh, the Anteaters, yep, they're a lot of fun there, but they know who Duke and Carolina is, and that's going to propel and certainly send those ratings skyward. But Teddy, it's Monday, Thursday. Hello. Major League Baseball season already beginning when we're going to have the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. Who can't wait? Today's breakdown here on SportsbookReview.com's That Betting Show is your first look at the St. Louis Cardinals, 88-74 in 2018. The Cardinals sitting on a 16-1 ticket to win the 2019 World Series. Over-under for their team total set on the season, Teddy, 88.5. I like what's going on here. You got Ozuna, Bader, and Martinez in the outfield, and a really good infield with newcomer Paul Goldschmidt added to that lineup. You got a good pitching staff that has a nice mix of some older guys coming back on some cheaper contracts like Wainwright. And then you also have some of the younger kids up front with Miles Michaelis starting at the top of the rotation, and also a flamethrower. If you haven't seen Hicks yet this year, make sure you take a look at his 100-mile-an-hour plus fastball coming right down the end. I like what they got going on. Yadi Molina behind the plate, Teddy. Sky's the limit for the St. Louis Cardinals team.
Yadi Molina's been there forever. And from all indications, he's still every bit as good as he's been. Now, last year, for the first time in team history, the Cardinals had more strikeouts than hits. And what did we see in the offseason? A lot of changes. A new head coach and Mike Schilt. A new batting coach and all analytics and technology and Jeff Albert. GM coming out and saying, we realize the importance of 2019. I've always been one for the longer-term decision-making, but we're trying to win now. Obviously, bringing in a guy like Paul Goldschmidt says, yeah, we are trying to win now. And you look at some of the bats in this lineup with Ozuna and Carpenter, Wong can hit, Bader, who played some crazy center field last year. There's some things to like about St. Louis on the offensive side. When it comes to the Cardinals pitching staff, a lot of young talent, a lot of guys with some impressive advanced metrics. Carlos Martinez certainly in that regard. Jack Flaherty, Mikolas certainly in that regard. But it's a pitching staff, certainly a starting staff that has their fair share of questions when it comes to durability. Obviously, Andrew Miller for the bullpen, a huge get for St. Louis. I'm with you. In theory, this team does look like a 90-plus win team. They look like they will be in contention in the NL Central. I wouldn't be surprised at all the Cardinals turn out to be a bet-on team from day one here in 2019.
Teddy, it's not going to be a surprise today on the SportsbookReview.com is if you get in the poker tournament and win it, you're going to the Final Four. Teddy and I just talked about it. Look at this Final Four setting up with the Blue Bloods. You don't want to be, tell me you don't want to be there with Carolina and possibly Duke and Virginia, who's ever going to line up in that tournament. It's going to be amazing. And also, just in case you don't win the grand prize, Teddy, there's still some cash on hand. Second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way through 31st getting paid. And the best part about it, Teddy, our theme of March Madness here, if it's free, it's me. The only problem, Teddy, I sit in New Jersey. I'm going to have to drive over the state limit or state lines to Pennsylvania to participate since for some reason Bovada is not allowed in my area. But for the other 49 states out there, congratulations. Get in this tournament. It's tonight, Teddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the keyword free, the other keyword tonight. So if you want to get a couple chances to win or you want to get a chance to win some Final Four tickets and a great prize pool package,